Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. The other day, I randomly had a recollection of an audiobook I once listened to over 2 years ago called Raising Human Beings, Creating a Collaborative Partnership with Your Child by Dr. Ross Greene. As a simple outline, Greene's parenting book focuses on how parents often have the choice of three different plans when addressing conflict or misbehavior in a child. In plan A, the parent seeks to address the problem unilaterally. Basically, this is the parent imposing their will with reasons like, because I said so, but not really inviting any input from the child on the matter. It's authoritarian. Plan B, on the other hand, is more of a collaborative approach that involves an ongoing dialogue between the parent and the child to reach a resolution in the conflict. And Plan C is more of a passive approach in which the parent chooses to drop the expectation or the problem for the time being. What I appreciated about this book was that Greene doesn't propose one plan is the best plan in all situations. It's not one size fits all, but rather he talks about how parents really have to use their judgment and discretion to choose which plan to adopt for a given problem. Some child's issues are emergency situations that require immediate action, so perhaps a collaborative dialogue is not the best move. On the other hand, some expectations might be small or not pressing concerns, and so sometimes the best course of action is not to always address the problem, but to drop the problem for the time being, to perhaps address it at a later date or to see if matters can resolve on their own. But the bulk of his book he spends talking about Plan B, where parents can engage in a kind of collaborative discussion with their child to gain empathy, to define a problem, and to work on a possible solution together. When Greene talks about Plan B, he defines it in 3 steps. Number 1, he calls the empathy step. This is when the parent is supposed to just listen and gather information. It's another way of doing what I once described as a rapport building frame, starting the conversation on the other person's terms so as to invite them into the impression that it's a very fair and balanced conversation, that they will have a seat at the table. So the first step is to develop that rapport, to develop that empathy so that you can proceed to step 2, which is to define the problem. Here, the teacher or the parent takes a turn to communicate their concerns over the unsolved problem. What this does is allows the teacher to give a rational explanation for why they have the expectations that they have. And finally, in the invitation step, the student and the teacher, or the parent and the child, can brainstorm together to address the concern. Not every problem has only one solution. There are often many possibilities for how to resolve an issue, and having the input of both the student and the teacher can be very beneficial to finding a solution that works for both parties. While Greene wrote this book for parents, he includes a section that also does a role play scenario for teachers about how they can use this Plan B method in order to resolve behavioral issues with their students. Here's the transcript. I've noticed you've been having difficulty listening to instructions during science lab. What's up? I don't know. Well, let's think about it for a minute, because I've noticed that it happens mostly during science lab and not during other activities. Well, you let us talk more during other activities. Tell me more. During other activities, you don't get mad at us if we're talking or joking around, but you get mad at us during science lab. Ah, I see. I guess that's true. I guess I'm a little bit more relaxed during other activities, but not during science lab. Yeah, so then if people talk or mess around during science lab, you get mad at us and you send us out into the hall. Yes, I do. So is that mostly it? That's why you're having trouble listening to instructions during science lab? Because I let you talk more during other activities, but not so much during science lab? Well, I guess it's hard for me to stop talking or joking. I think I understand. Any thoughts about what's so difficult about that? I don't know. I guess I'm just sociable. Yes, you are very sociable. That is one of the things I appreciate about you. Well, you don't like it during science lab? No, not during science lab. See, my concern is that you're all working with chemicals during science lab, chemicals that might explode or burn you. So I need to run a much tighter ship during science lab. So I guess I can't be relaxed when working with these chemicals that can hurt you because I'm concerned for all of your safety. Does that make sense? Yes. So I wonder if there's anything that we can do about the talking and joking during science lab so that we can avoid people potentially getting hurt. Any thoughts about that? I mean, it's not like I'm the only person who's talking or joking around. That's fair. I totally agree with you. And I'll be talking about this with some of your classmates as well. I didn't know why you were stricter during science lab. I don't think it will be hard for me to be more serious now that I know. And maybe I can tell my classmates about that as well. Oh, that would be great. What can I do if you are still having trouble with this in the future? You could remind me, just please don't send me out of the room. Well, I have reminded you, and it hasn't been working very well, so that's why I've sent you out of the room. Yeah, but now I understand what's going on. So I think I can be more serious moving forward. I don't think you'll need to remind me very often. So this exchange is not perfect and will no doubt not work for every student and teacher combination, but I do really appreciate how Greene describes his three-step process here. In the first step, the teacher doesn't rush to judgment or making declarations or punishments, but rather tries to invite the student to share their side of the story, to talk about what's going on from a non judgmental perspective. And then only after that does the teacher try to explain their reasoning behind why the rule is what it is and why the student's behavior might be detrimental to the classroom atmosphere. And finally, they try to work on finding a solution together rather than having this unilateral teacher centered decision. So I hope that you found that interesting or useful. I had fun talking about it today, and I look forward to hearing from you again. Until then, cheers.